Hello and welcome to another episode of One Round Left. My name is Chase and in front of me today I have my Finnish M39 service rifle. If you don't know anything about the Mosin Nagant family, this is a Finnish take on the Russian Mosin Nagant platform of rifle, both of which have seen service in World War II. The Mosin Nagant as a whole still sees combat even to this day. There's photos of Russian soldiers of some sort, I'm not sure if they're conscripts or what, carrying bolt-action Mosin Nagant rifles. With that being said, the Winter War in World War II was fought between Finland and Russia. This was Finland's answer to the Russian attack, along with their other rifles that they had in service. However, this was one of their main service rifles. It would go on to become legendary in history, as well as a keepsake for military surplus collectors. Let's continue with the review by going from front to back. But first, let's make sure that the gun is clear so we can proceed. With a Mosin Nagant, if you're unfamiliar, it's a bolt-action rifle, straight pull bolt. You just pull the bolt up, back. We can tell that there's nothing in the internal magazine, and there's obviously nothing in the chamber, so let's proceed. The M39 has a bladed front sight protected by two little hoods that keeps anything from landing on it, damaging it. You see that with Enfield, Garand style rifles. However, one thing that makes the M9130 different from its Russian counterpart is that you can actually adjust the front sight on this rifle. That really helps with your accuracy, that just helps overall with your shooting, especially if you're shooting at a specific range that you're familiar with. You can be a really good marksman with these rifles. Your standard cleaning rod. Moving to your Sling Swivels, there's one on the side, on the front. We'll get to the one on the back later. This is if you are on skis, horseback, or if you're mounted up on any type of vehicle and you just need to sling the rifle up on your back. This one here on the bottom is for your shoulder. Moving to the sights, these are much better, especially the rear sight, on the Finnish M39 compared to the Russian 9130. They're actually adjustable by 20-meter increments, and they do have, if you can see closely, just large mark numbers, just so you can quick adjust. They also have them on the top, so no matter if you are looking at the rifle from the top or the side, you can see what you're dialed in at, and this really allows for a lot more fine adjustment, and it really allows someone to be a marksman with one of these rifles. The Finnish military very much prided themselves on the premise of everyone is a rifleman, and it clearly shows with these rifles. Even the predecessors to this, the M28 and the M27, and also your actual Finnish capture Russian rifles that are 9130 patterned. So with M39s, most of the time they're not all matching. They would actually take them and force match the numbers. This particular model has a VKT D-shank barrel, and it was force matched to the hex receiver. Upon taking this rifle apart, I discovered that it is a 1911 year make Tula receiver, so very interesting. So we were talking about the Sling Swivels. The stud here on the bottom is, again, for shoulder carry. The one on the side corresponds to the one on the front. This also makes it very different from other Russian Mosin makes. Steel butt pad, no space for a cleaning kit. The stocks on these are actually quite heavier built. They're much nicer than your standard Russian Mosin. You can see the seams here where it's a two-piece stock, where it's bonded together. You can also see your line here where they meet. Now, these barrels are extremely accurate. This is a D-shank barrel, which means that it is a tighter bore barrel than what your standard Mosin Nagants have. These can range anywhere between a 308 diameter to a 310 diameter, and it really shows when you take these out to the range and shoot them. Even with poor Russian steel case ammunition, they perform very well. These rifles actually tend to like heavier grain weight, so if you can find anything in the 180 grain or above, I recommend shooting them because most likely they'll shoot better. Finland used a 203 grain or 204 grain, if I remember right. I've seen different loadings, but usually they tend to float above the 200 grain, and they use that to devastating effect on the Russians. One thing about this rifle is it is almost a textbook definition of irony, because Finland needed rifles to fend off the Russians badly. So there were several countries that were able to trade, barter. I'm not sure if they donated them or how that may have happened. They did capture Mosin rifles from Russia, which a lot of people say that if they see an M39, they automatically say, oh, it's a Russian capture or a Finnish capture rifle, and that did happen. That is true. However, there were more often than not Mosins that were given, traded, or bought from other countries. The United States sent over several of their Westinghouse and Remington make on the M91s from World War I, the holdovers. So they were sitting around and decided to send them to Finland to, arm their military. And the Finnish actually took these and they made them Cadillacs of rifles. These far outperform your standard Russian Mosin Nagant, and nothing against your standard Russian Mosin. It is a great rifle. They're robust, they're extremely durable, they're accurate enough for practical combat accuracy, but this just takes it to a whole new level. This rifle can compete against the Swiss straight pull rifles to an extent. Any of your Swedish Mausers, this can go toe-to-toe with them and perform on an equal level. If you're unfamiliar with a Mosin, I'll show you how to remove the bolt from the rifle. You just simply pull up, pull the bolt all the way back, pull on the trigger, bolt comes out. So if you ever need to inspect the barrel to one of these, there you go. Put the bolt back in, closes back down. You can also take, instead of dry firing the rifle, you can hold back and let it slowly go down on the firing pin. Or you can take, after recocking the rifle, you can pull the trigger down while you're turning the bolt and it'll slowly go down. I've had this rifle now for a few years and I absolutely love it. They're extremely accurate, the bolt is very smooth, and this is a wonderful shooter. My only regret is that I simply haven't shot it enough. And with what's going on right now in Eastern Europe, it's just very ironic that the same rifles and weapons that Russia's using are being used against them, and this is just repeating history almost in certain aspects. If you are looking for a Mosin, definitely check out, websites obviously. If you can get good photos, especially if you can get bore pics. Dark bores, it'll still be a great shooter, nothing wrong with it. You just really want to see if there's any corrosion. Especially if you shoot these rifles with corrosive ammo, please be sure to clean them because the metal in here is very much prone to rusting and corroding. So you can shoot corrosive ammo in these all day, every day. Just make sure and clean them afterwards. And again, this is still chambered in the 7.62x54 cartridge. So for the new guys out there, just a heads up, that ammunition is still pretty available right now, all things considered. And this is still definitely a good way to collect a piece of history, which really any Mosin Nagant is a great piece of history. These to me are just a little bit more interesting. And again, like I said, nothing against your Russian Mosins or any of your other Mosins, but these are just better. Hopefully that answers some questions that you may have when you're checking out a Finnish rifle. Now this is not the only Finnish rifle, like I said. If you see a rifle, now the stamping on this one is very faint and you're not going to be able to see it here on the camera, but if it has a square box and it has the letters SA, that is a Finnish rifle. There was a earlier stamping. I actually can't pronounce the name myself, so I'm not going to attempt to. Check out Ian McCullum's videos on that, on Forgotten Weapons. He's got a video that actually talks about that. And also, to see these in action shooting at the range, especially at distance, 9-hole reviews